So tomorrow is Valentine's Day, and this is the first Valentine's that Kyle and I are spending together. And we kind of already talked that we're not like really gonna exchange gifts or anything like that. But I can't just leave it at that. No, I always gotta do something, all right? And what I decided is I will make him something. Now, originally I was going to do a crocheted item. And I think down the road I'll probably do that. It's just I don't have the time, the patience, or the energy to do that right now because I'm still working on the cross stitch. But what I thought about was, why don't I just make a card, like a handmade card? I mean, when's the last time you got a handmade card from someone, right? So I've been watching some videos on YouTube about watercoloring cards and things like that. And I was working on a design for my podcast on Canva, and then I saw that they had some cute like Valentine's Day designs. And I was like looking through them, and one of them said, "You are my weirdo." And that totally inspired me to make a card. And so I figured, why not document the process, I suppose, and see what happens. This is not a tutorial. This is just me trying to figure out how to do this and make it look hopefully not like a hot piece of garbage. So yeah, let's see how things turn out, shall we? So here is my little experimenting with oil pastel, colored pencil, marker, trying out different font sizes, and then I made a template out of a piece of paper to make a heart, and I decided to go with this taller font size that is based off of like the Addams Family movie font, I guess, and then also what's it called? It's on Word, maybe Astraca or something. But yeah, I really like this font and decided to kind of go with that. And then now I am just tracing the heart on the paper here, and no matter how hard I try to be very light with my hand, I always have just a heavy hand. Really in everything I do. There's nothing delicate about me. There's nothing light about me. I'm always very full force, I suppose. So, anywho, what I'm doing now is I am taping the paper to a clipboard because I know when you use watercolors, the paper will tend to buckle. And so I should also say that this is not the right kind of paper that you should be using for watercolor, because at the time I could not for the life of me find where I had put my actual watercolor paper. So this was just like some regular sketch paper, and sketch paper, as you will see, is just not designed to deal with watercolor. So now that I have this taped to the clipboard, I already done the light tracing on the paper as you saw earlier. I am now doing a wet on wet watercolor technique. I am not very good at watercolor, as you will see. I just watched a couple of videos on YouTube from YouTubers who are some like card makers and gotten some ideas with them. And I mean, I really do like watercolor in the sense, like, I think it looks really pretty and I love the colors and like the things that you can do with it. I'm just not very good, but you know what, that's why you practice, right? So as you'll see, as I trudge along here, you can already tell that the paper is just buckling and rippling, and it's just not gonna turn out great. So here is where I realized that this was just a terrible idea, and you could tell that the painter's tape was actually ripping up the paper too, so it was just terrible. So now at this point I've actually found some scrap watercolor paper, and I ended up taking a small portion of it and cutting it, and now I am just evening up the edges. As you can see, I had already traced the heart stencil onto it, and now I'm just using this cutting mat and ruler to make sure that everything is as straight and as even as possible. Now, again, I've never really done this before, so I'm really just making this up as I go along. I'm sure a lot of people out there who have actually done this are probably just screaming at their monitors right now. But yeah, it was definitely a learning curve trying to get this all even, and I even remember having to tell myself, like, you're just overthinking it. You need to stop. Just go. And you can get kind of wrapped up in the details sometime and lose the forest through the trees, or whatever the expression is. So, and now I'm just kind of, because watercolor paper is very thick, it's almost like you have to score it with a X-Acto knife and then rip it off the edges. So now I'm going in with a kneaded eraser and erasing the heart so that I can, I guess, retrace it. Or I guess it's probably so faint that you can't really see it. Nope, I'm retracing it. Boy, it's like I've never done this before. I can't even remember what I was doing. And now I'm just kind of evening up some of the lines. And now I am just taping up all edges, creating a little bit of a border. And then here's where I'm trying to make the border even, at like with 1/4 of an inch all the way around. So that way when I peel it off, it will look hopefully nicer that way. So this paper that you see here, that was like kind of the inspiration for the color palette and what I was kind of going for. And so now I'm just reactivating my watercolor palette and just kind of going to town now and just doing, again, a wet on wet technique, I guess. I really love this color blue. I think it's so pretty, and just mixing the like greens and purple and blues just makes it really, really pretty. I just love this color combination. And I know Kyle's favorite color is purple, so I definitely wanted to, it's also my favorite color, I definitely wanted to incorporate a lot of that in, but I also felt that it was important to do like pops of green and something a little bit bright, so it's not just like all one monotonous shade. So now I'm realizing that I need more green pigment, so I put some more paint in, and now I'm just kind of going around. I saw this really cool tip from one of the YouTubers I was kind of getting ideas for card making from, and she said with watercolor, the paint will only go with where you put the water. So if you're worried about getting the inner heart kind of colored, then just don't put water there. Just be a little bit careful with where you're putting your water, especially if you're doing the wet on wet technique. So yeah, I thought that was very, very helpful, because you can just see that I am kind of going around the edges. I wanted to try to incorporate some red, but it wasn't really working for me. So, and as you'll see, I'll kind of end up going back and taking that off. And then at some point I realized that there was a small blue dot of paint in it, and I figured, well, you know what, might as well just embrace that little happy mistake. There are no mistakes, there's only happy accidents, as Bob Ross would say. So I decided to just kind of do a speckled effect on that and just make it look like it was intended. I think it, like, you know, in the end, I think it looks really cool. Adding more blue here. Kind of going with an outline, because my goal was to try to cover up the eraser mark as much as possible. And the neat thing I realized is that if you kind of make a mistake in the sense of like where you don't want your paint to go, when it's still wet, if you have like a tissue or like a napkin, as I do on my other hand, you just kind of blot it off, which is really nice. So as you can see, I'm kind of using the water to erase that red area that I put down before, because I really just didn't think it was going to work. And then I ended up going in with more of a vibrant green, kind of making it pop. You can also kind of do a, I don't even know what the technique is, like a stippling effect, I suppose, with the water, or with the paper towel. Just adding in some finishing touches right here. And it was at that point where I kind of have to figure out, all right, you gotta just find that you have to walk that fine edge of when you're done and not overdo it. And I think with some of those blue blotches, I overdid it, which is why I took them away. But I feel like watercolor can be very forgiving, especially if you're like just doing something a little abstract like this. Like, I'm always in awe when, like, with actual like artists who use watercolor as their favorite medium can do like these landscapes and things like that. It just makes me just wonder and awe how they do it. So anyhow, here it's done. It's dry. I think I had to wait like an hour or two, and then now I'm taking my kneaded eraser and going around the heart and erasing the pencil lines, and I'm using my ruler to create the spacing for the letters. And I'm actually really glad that I kept the paper on this grid cutting board, because it's really helped me with maintaining an even spacing. And I'm not the best at having great font or like writing, so I really had to like take my time and go really slow here to make sure that it looked good, especially getting like the spacing down here with the D and the O. So now I'm just going through and I erased the little mistake I made, and now I am practicing with the kind of marker I want to use. The first one was a Sharpie pen, and the middle one was a black marker that I had that had two different tips, a medium and a fine point. And so I ended up just going with the Sharpie pen, which is actually one of my favorite pens to use, right next to the Pilot G2.10 pen. And so now I'm just going through and I am tracing over the words and going through again with the kneaded eraser. Kneaded erasers are amazing, man. If you're not using one, I highly recommend grabbing one. You can get them for pretty cheap at your local art supply store. So now I am taking off the paper, and as you can see, the watercolor had bled through underneath, but overall I think the border worked pretty well. So now I'm taking a piece of thicker sketch paper, because I did not have any cardboard or tag board or anything like that. So I folded that in half, and then I found these 3M command, they're not even command strips, they're just like command foam bits. I don't even know how to describe it. So now I'm cutting these into 4 small pieces, and because I knew that if I was going to glue the back, then it would just get all wobbly and weird and warped, just like as if I was doing watercolors on this paper, and I did not want that after going through all this work. So yeah, now it's pasted on and it's ready for me to write. So yeah, that was basically the card that I made for Kyle, and it was very much a learning curve, as you could see, and I really liked how it turned out, and I will probably definitely be doing that again next year, God willing, and for birthdays and things like that, for Mother's Day. Spoiler alert, Mom, if you're watching this. But yeah, so he liked it so much that he wanted to show his mom, and I had also printed off photos of us from Walgreens, and so I put those into the card too, and so he thought that was really cute, and his mom and dad thought it was really nice too, so you know, just scoring those brownie points left and right, I suppose. But it's not just for that, it's just also because I really do love him and care about him, and I love making things for people I love and care about. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. This is pretty new to me as far as making videos and editing, so I'd love to hear feedback. And then also, what did you guys do for Valentine's Day? Did you do anything? If you could have done anything, what would you have wanted to do? And yeah, like, subscribe, share, and also go check out my podcast, Murder is My Sign, link down below. Until next time, guys, take care of yourself and each other. And it feels kind of weird doing my ending take on a video, but alright, I don't know how to end this. I really don't. Until next time, guys, take care of yourself and each other, and rest in peace.